welcome back to Preparing for the Unexpected. Today we are talking with Lisa Jones about operational resilience and getting that seat at the C-suite table. Lisa, great first and second segments. I've got an interesting question for you.
Okay.
Many organizations talk about organizational resilience. Does operational resilience compete or contribute to that?
By all means, operational resilience definitely contributes to organizational resilience. Over organizational resilience, when you think about it, we're really looking at the overall holistic way of being resilient for the organization. Same as calling it business resilience. Unfortunately, or fortunately, what I would like to say is that organizational resilience is a standard. Again, another standard talking about, the ability for an organization to bounce back after some type of disruption, being able to mitigate that, put things in place beforehand to lessen the burden of recovery. Operational resilience again is the scheme of how you protect those products and services that you're providing to customers, and for customers still to be able to get those products and services when you have a disruption. They're very symbiotic in
Mhm.
what they talk about and what they do. They're very symbiotic in bringing the whole organization together, and they're very symbiotic in changing and socializing a culture of resilience for your organization. So definitely they're very collaborative in that approach.
Can you have one without the other?
I think you can. It may not be as helpful, but you could have one without the other. I just think anything that can enhance your program by adopting some of that, adopting operational resilience into an organizational resilient program is very helpful. Can you have it without? Of course. Would it would it behoove you to have both? Yes.
Mhm. Well, if you've got a negative culture, that's going to impact how your preparedness levels are going, and plans and processes and communication is going to be impacted because we don't have
Yes.
a culture that allows Alex to talk to Lisa. So when
Yes.
something happens, I'm barely going to know Lisa, and we're not going to know how we're supposed to work together.
Exactly. And like we said before, with operational zones, you have to bring 4 or 5 people together just to look at one process. If I have a process of providing t-shirts to my customers, who's providing me the t-shirts? Who's doing the printing? Who's doing the delivery? How are they ordering those on how are they, making those purchases? Is it online? Is it in a store? You have to talk to there's just all these people just for one process.
Yeah.
Organizational resilience is talking about everything that the organization does, whether it's your HR department to ensuring that people get paid or benefits or whatever that may be, or your facilities manager making sure that the building is safe and stable and all those other things. If there's a flood uh on floor 4, who's on floor 4? What is damaged? How are those things? All of
And how
those
are we
things.
protecting the people on the floors
Oh
below?
yes, correct. Correct. So you have to, I don't understand, I get the whole silo thing. I get it. I mean, we come into organizations, especially as the more the complex they are, the more siloed. I am amazed. Maybe I'm not amazed, but amazed about how siloed things can be, even in this paced world where we have to have these continuous monitoring. We have things changing constantly. Still trying to deal with that silo mentality is hard, but it comes down again to communication, to the culture of the organization. What is the C-suite pulling, telling employees and staff? And when you don't feel that that's being communicated properly, you hold on to your little department. um,
Yeah. I
that's
think
that's a challenge.
sometimes I think that gets lost in the translation that we break down silos. People think that means you're taking something away from me,
Oh my goodness, yes.
right? And that's
Correct.
not the case.
That's not the case at all. And we've had the opportunity to bring people together because we see all the things. We see that HR is dependent on the mailroom because they get certain things from them. Or we see that finance is dependent on this person because if this person goes out or this vendor is gone, we see those things. So our jobs is really to foster those conversations when there are uh, siloed points in that process.
Mhm.
And I think we do that well. We also need that support from leadership to do. So that's I think some of the roadblocks that we may come up against when we're doing some of those things. And when people, like you said, if people feel like you're going to take something away from them, they're going to hold on to it even harder.
Yeah. Is it is it as easy as just going walking up to a C-level person and just saying, "I need your help with something"? It doesn't necessarily mean you're going to have a report or sit at the table, but just saying, "I need your help with something. I need to understand such and such." Is there some way I can do that? Can you just do those kind of things?
I think in smaller organizations you can. You know, they always say I found that smaller organizations have those open door policies that they say you can talk to everyone, and sometimes that does
Mm,
work. In a more complex environment, you really kind of got to work up the chain. So maybe not, you maybe not be able to talk to the CEO. Let's be honest. If I worked for, I don't know, if I worked for Amazon, I'm not talking to Jassy. He's not on speed dial for me. Or Tesla. I'm not talking to Elon Musk anytime soon. But there has to be there. I'm sure there are ways we can do, skip level down, go maybe in middle management or try to find, two or three people within their org to bring them together and say, I noticed that I've talked to some of these, points of contact as I'm building these plans and noticed that there's a true gap that I'm seeing in your department, in your organization. Can we talk about that? And maybe they can take that up the chain to get some
yeah,
visibility on it. And that's where we have to start. If we don't have that, don't have the CEO, can we meet with the person that reports to them? We can't meet with that person. Maybe, someone else in the organization can get that information up.
kind of whittle away at the mountain, right? One little pebble at a
Yes.
time, right?
Yes. I
To they
mean,
eventually get up there.
apparently we got to do work. Who knew?
Yeah. So uh, I'm wondering then, well, actually, I'm going to ask this question because you've mentioned them a few times. Enterprise risk management. What's the best way to talk to them? Because they're always trying to be on top of everything because
Mm,
they are usually the ones who are putting the reports together, not just for the C-suite, but the board of directors.
yeah.
So, what's the best way to really interact with them? Because I felt for a long time now that they're a key group to get on board and get to.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, one thing we have to remember when we're talking to enterprise risk management, the types of risks that we're capturing may be slightly different than what they're capturing. So sometimes there's disconnect even between the two of us to say, we're really looking at risks from the recovery plan aspect of how to recover a plan, like single points of failure if Joe Smo is the only one that's doing that job, or but in the same vein, the risk that the organization is capturing. If we could have that conversation to that enterprise risk to say, okay, what is on the risk register? Like we talked about before, give me the top 10 things that are on the risk register, and let me help you in defining that to the organization, or maybe planning for those processes or whatever that may impact within the organization. If we can bring our powers together, I'm sure we can figure out the best mitigation strategy from a plan perspective as well as from an enterprise risk perspective of putting your controls in place, because you have controls you want to put in place. I have things from a mitigation strategy that can meet some of those gaps, and we can work together on it.
I always find it interesting when I've talked to some groups about enterprise risk management and the risk registry, the corporate risk or enterprise risk registry, whatever name it's given. and it's kept in a large part in secret.
Yes.
And I find, well, why are you keeping that in secret? Because I find that keeping it a secret is a hindrance to trying to get that real operational and organizational resilience level or state of being or whatever you want to term it as, trying to achieve that.
Yeah.
It's a
I mean,
roadblock. Don't
yeah.
hide that.
Yeah. It's almost as if they think you're going to put it on Twitter. I don't know.
Yeah, but even then, a lot of that stuff applies to many organizations anyway.
Exactly.
Cyber, terrorism or polycrises, all these kind of things that are out there, market share. Well, that there's no secrets there.
Yeah.
You know,
Another thing you could do is like if you can get a horizon scan. I know the BCI does horizon scanning. There's other organizations that may have a risk map of 2024. Take that information and take that to your risk manager and say, hey, how much of this aligns to our current organization? Are these things we should start considering in my planning as I work with or as I work with teams? Are these things that I should be keeping in the back of my mind to ensure that those recovery strategies are meeting some of the things you have listed in your risk management or on your risk registry.
yeah, and then if they have that conversation with you, they're going to say, "Wow, I didn't know a lot of this stuff was going on. This is
Right.
great," and that starts making its way into reports to the C-suite and
Correct.
reports up to the BOD. So now you have, to your point, you found an alternate path to get to that table.
Ding ding. I love it. Yes. You're catching on, my friend.
I hope so after all these years.
Right.
Well, believe it or not, we've only got about 3 minutes
Oh my
left.
goodness.
Yeah, I know.
Wow.
Think time just flies here. Do you have any final thoughts or messages you'd like to convey about operational resilience, getting to the C-suite, or organizational resilience? Anything you'd like to convey?
Yeah, I would just say that anything we can do to socialize, whether it's operational resilience, organizational resilience, anything we can do to help bring that into the organization without having to carry a big stick is always helpful. We don't have to comply to everything that's within the standard, but there are great things within whatever standard you decide to adopt to bring that onto your organization. Ultimately, our goal as business continuity professionals or resiliency professionals or whatever we want to call ourselves today is to help our organizations be resilient. Tying those to whatever the mission statement of our organization is always helpful, and just really understanding where we are from the organization first. Understanding your organization is the best way to help apply some of those things that we really want to do from a business continuity.
You kind of touched on something there that I think frustrates a lot of people, and because it was, I know I touched on it. You just did by saying, or whatever we want to call ourselves, and I think that might be terminology. We
Yes.
sure some definitions we may not be clear on, but a lot of our terminology is interchangeable. People don't understand it, and depending on the industry we come from, we'll use a different word, and that doesn't help our case.
Are you trying to tell me we're going to have another podcast just on terminology? Because I'm here for it.
Hey,
What are we calling ourselves today?
exactly. I was on a panel years ago at a conference, and I mentioned terminology, and there were people from a couple of different groups. I won't name them, that were there, and I said, you three should get together and come up with common terminology so that all of us understand the same thing at the same time and know what it means. And
Mhm.
that was 5 years ago, and not a single thing happened, and I don't think people liked my comment, very well.
Well, just bring it over to the think tank and let's muddle it through.
I'm all for it. Any
Okay.
final? We got 1 minute. Any final thought you want to convey?
No, this has been great. Thank you for having me. I appreciate being able to share some things, and hopefully I helped someone.
Well, it's definitely going to help someone because this is a big thing right now: operational resilience, organizational resilience, and I know there's the standard guidelines that came out of the EU. Whatever comes out of there is going to come impact us on this side as well.
Yep.
Because, and you brought it up earlier too, if you've got a global company, you're going to have to address it. And if you're addressing it here because you've got business over there, you're going to start asking those questions of your partners that are here. So it just starts to grow here as well. So hopefully
Yes,
this
it
is going to
will.
help all those people.
Yep. Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Thanks, Lisa, for joining us. I really appreciate you sharing your time and expertise with us. And apologies again, it took way too long to get you on the show, but I'm glad you're here, and I'm sure it's not going to be the first time.
Okay. Well, I look forward to the next time. Thanks.
Great. Thanks, Lisa, for joining us, and everyone watching and listening. Stay prepared, everybody.
If you liked that video, thumbs up. If you didn't like that video, thumbs down. But leave me a message and let me know your thoughts. Of course, don't forget to subscribe. And in the meantime, stay prepared, everybody.